who lived in this valley, the Hohokam Indians. And I remember seeing a Native American tour guy. He works down there at the Pueblo Indian Art Museum in downtown Phoenix. And right before I started, filming the lights and started, filming the UFOs, I saw him up there on South Mountain doing a tour, talking about the petroglyphs. And this guy who was with him, he says, "Oh, that stick figure guy carved on there looks like he's looking up at something in the sky." And Dave Morris, the Native American shaman from the Pueblo Indian Art Museum, the museum in downtown Phoenix, turns around and he says, "Yes, that's part of our interpretations here on the rocks, is that our ancestors saw and recorded things in the sky." Well, oh my God, dude, right? So this is like, what, 10, 11 years after the 1997 famous 1997 Phoenix Lights happening, Phoenix Lights spread. And yet no one has came to this conclusion. No one has even thought of this before. No one has even considered Arizona's past, Phoenix, Arizona's past, the petroglyphs on the mountain having a connection with the lights above Phoenix, Arizona, and all these other things that we see in the skies today. No one has thought of that before, dude. I was like, what? Wait a minute. We have strange markings on the rocks out there, and we have strange lights in the skies, man. Come on. Doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure all this out. So yeah, man, contacted Dave, said, "Dude, man, I saw you up there on the mountain talking about these glyphs. Come up there and show me the way, brother. Show me the way." Went up there, we started talking about lizard men, started talking about doorways to the underworld, started talking about giants. I mean, oh my God, dude. He was telling me a lot of stuff, and at that time, I was just kind of taking it all at a grain of salt because, the reports were that these things are spaceships. These things are crafts. These things are little gray men running around, right? So that's what I'm thinking about. Because that's what everyone has been told. At least, 80, 90 years now, I guess? At least 80 years, give or take. They're spaceships. These lights are spaceships. They're crafts. Alpha Centauri, right? Little grays hiding in your closet. Hiding under your bed, right? So that's what I was believing. So when he's telling me that these spirals are doorways, and is he calling them crafts? No. Not crafts at all, people. Spirits, yo. Spirits of the earth and sky. Now, when he's saying that these spirals are symbols for the doorways into the stone or into the ground, I'm thinking, how can a damn spaceship, nuts and bolts technology, for one, get into a rock? For another, he's telling me that the crack there, that this symbol is pointing at, this spiral is pointing at, is a doorway, right? So how can a spaceship get into that low crack, dude? How can a spaceship go into the ground like that? Telling me the spirals are doorways. Going clockwise, it's a doorway in. Going counterclockwise, it's a doorway out. When the spiral ends up, it's a vortex in the sky. And that spiral is a symbol for you, like looking down into a hole, right? We're looking down into a hole. That spiral is the hole to the vortex, to the underworld, right? So I'm watching these things coming and going through the whole years of 2005, 6, and 7. out there on South Mountain. I lived out there on the east side of Phoenix, man. Right there, about a mile away from South Mountain. I lived there. I watch these things come and go from South Mountain. I go out there expecting to see some kind of landing, some kind of crop circle, some kind of evidence that I saw something go down there. I saw it. I videotaped it. What do I find? No evidence of spaceships, no evidence of crafts, but a boulder with carvings from the first Native Americans over 1,000 years ago, known as the Hohokam Indians. And it's the exact same thing that I saw a couple days ago come down here on the ground. Stick figure guy looking up, and lo and behold, spirals, right? Doorways, right? The more and more I watch these things coming and going from South Mountain out there, the more and more I started to realize, wait a minute, let's hold the phone here. This is different, man. Because by then, they're like flying by my window. And yes, they knew I was there. Like I said before, they showed me the way. They showed me where to go. I was watching the lights in 2004. They're moving to the mountain. I followed them to the mountain. Once I got there, I never saw them back over there again. Everything was right there in front of me. Like they're showing off to me or something. Coming and going from the mountain. Here we are. Look at me. Film me. Look at me. This is what I am. And they're flying right by the window. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, wait a minute, man. What the hell was that? This spider-looking thing dropped out of the sky, flew by my window. I'm on the second floor story apartment window. And nothing's in my way, just the mountain. A mile away, I can see South Mountain on the east side. I'm right there, like on 40th Street and around Baseline area, those of you who are familiar with Phoenix. I'm sitting right there. I'm watching the whole time. And this thing falls out of the sky, flies by my window, and I'm getting great shots of this thing, man. It's like a spider. Those of you who haven't seen it, you can check out my YouTube channel. It's there. Check out my Facebook page. It's there. Look under video of the day, because I took that to the news, right? And they're like, dude, what is that? I was like, I don't know. It made video of the day on News Channel 3 in Phoenix, Arizona. Made the news. And the more I zoomed in on the thing, and the more and more I studied it and saw it shape-shifting and flying and not making any shadows, right? Because it's in the morning. The sun was out, but there wasn't any shadows on the ground. I soon realized that this wasn't a spaceship at all, that this thing was alive, man. That thing looked like it had skin on it. A lot of these people, they look up there and they see this metallic object, right? What if that's its skin? What if that's the creature, its skin? People see these lights up there, they think, oh, it's a spaceship. But watching them for so many years, growing up with these things, man, and studying them and understanding the petroglyphs out there and the Hohokam stories, I'm just telling you, look, you see 5 lights out there? You're looking at 5 living creatures, man. These things are alive. I know it seems hard to believe, but that's my conclusion. I started off on this journey, on this road, right? Thinking spaceships, technology, little men from Alpha Centauri, people keeping aliens in their closets, stuff like that. All these crazy stories. But all the evidence that I was finding for myself, all the stuff that I was documenting, all this data, as some people like to say, that I was collecting, was leading me down another road. And this road was not technology. This road was not spaceships. This road was not another planet. Something completely different. And that's where the credibility was lying at, was taking me down. That's where it was at. That's where it was at. I soon realized that it's not spaceships. Of course, I'm open to it. I mean, the scientists have found, 7 Earth-like planets on the outskirts of our solar system. Sure, what's to say? There's an advanced civilization out there. They made some kind of spaceship. They have visited Earth before or continue. Sure, I'm open. I don't see any evidence. I see people writing books with no proof. It's all hearsay. We'll get into my book here in a minute. My book actually has photographs, right? My book actually has facts. Not a bunch of hearsay. Not a bunch of bullshit trying to make you buy my book. And, you know, I'm not in it for the money. Told the publishers to give my profits to the book to the foster kids in Phoenix. So I'm not seeing a dime of this stuff. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it to get this information to you, and that's exactly what I've been doing. Oh, God, for years now, over 20 years, man. Been on the History Channel, been on the UFO Hunter Show, did the pilot for the UFO Hunter Show, did True TV, did some interviews with Jaime Maussan. I mean, I've been around. I wrote an article for UFO Magazine. Yeah, my stuff's credible. Search my name on the internet. You can find out all this information about me on the internet. I've been doing this for a very, 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 very long time. My credibility is solid. And why? Is because I can actually back up what I claim here. And it's through 15 hard research years in Phoenix, South Mountain, Phoenix Lights, Phoenix Library, going into the files of Phoenix, Arizona, trying to figure out the story of the South Mountain. Finding out the first park ranger of South Mountain. Who knew? Who knew about the tombs on South Mountain that I've discovered? Who knew about the altars on South Mountain? Talks about the sacrificing going on in Phoenix, Arizona for these Phoenix Lights, for these creatures in the sky. Notice how I say creatures now. I'm not saying crafts, because I don't believe they're crafts at all. There's no evidence of crafts. "15 years of research. Plus, actually, 15 years plus. Hiking South Mountain, exploring South Mountain, discovering the petroglyphs, calling down a Native American shaman to teach me the petroglyphs. I'm not saying anything new. This isn't just my interpretation. This stuff has always been here, but it's been covered up away from you, good people, for the last 80 years. This information has been buried. Because Holberg, when Holberg was alive back in the 1940s, or excuse me, 1930s to late 40s when he passed away, he was the guardian of South Mountain. The Indians at that time told him where gold tombs were buried at. He was there to protect them. They told him how the Mayans were here in Phoenix, Arizona, in which I'm finding evidence of Mayans here in Phoenix. I'm finding their petroglyphs, their carvings. Talked about the Spanish conquistadors, how they were here, and the archaeologist doesn't even believe that the Spanish came through here, but yet Holberg did. And in my book, you can find evidence that I found out there, the artifacts of the Spanish conquistadors. You can see that in my book. It's still there. All the evidence is still there. You just got to go up there and search for it, and know what you're looking for and understand. See, I didn't have any of this when I was going into this. I had to learn all of this. But now, you know, you have my book and you have all this information, so you have something to go on to, and that's exactly what, you know, this Petroglyphs in the Sky story is all about. It's about looking at the credible evidence that I've dug up over the last at least 20 years now. 15 years of research plus, doing all these shows, all these news reports, all these UFO sightings, all these hikings, bringing the information down from the mountain. They're like scrolls. These mountains around Phoenix, Arizona, they're like scrolls. They tell the history of Phoenix, Arizona. But yeah, no one's paying them the time of day. We're gonna get into some of these petroglyphs. We're gonna talk about some of them. I'm gonna show some of them. And I think it's time for us to take a second look at some of these petroglyphs and take a second look about what are these Native Americans are telling us about these lights, because who would better off know what they are and what everything is about but them, because they were here before us, right? They dealt with the Phoenix Lights. They knew what the Phoenix Lights were. They told their stories on these mountain scrolls. And that's exactly what they are. These are storytelling mountains. They're scrolls in history. It's our history. It's not some graffiti on the wall out there. It's not some Native American on peyote, I mean, they're telling a story in the places where the event took place at. So when you see these rocks out there, you see the petroglyph boulders, don't move them, because you're removing the story from that area. The petroglyphs are carved in the spaces, in the areas on where the event took place at. That's why when you look at the petroglyphs, you're supposed to include the whole landscape in with the petroglyph, because the artist is including the landscape in with the art, because it's a part of the picture here. It's a part of what's going on. That's the reason why we see petroglyphs over here. There's no petroglyphs over there. Nothing happened over there. It happened over here, right? I just find it fascinating on how, all this information was just buried and covered up. And, because Holbrook told people, he did tours on South Mountain like I do, passed out little flyers on my YouTube channel. There's a link on my YouTube channel to my website, and there you can see Charles Holbrook's writings. He used to pass out this little folder. And all this information was tucked away in the Phoenix Library. That's how I discovered that there was a Chinese wall supposedly built out there on South Mountain. From the old maps that I found on South Mountain. From the library. So after Holbrook's death, all this information was buried away and tucked away. Why? And they made South Mountain a government park. So you can't go up there and start digging around or you'll go to jail. Because if you do, you're going to discover all kinds of things that the archaeologist does not want you to know about. This is why they want you to stay on the trails. They don't want you to go off the trails. Because when you do, that's where the answers are. That's where the information is. That's where the history is. And the history tells a completely different story of what these archaeologists and all these people in these textbooks and teachers and scholars want you to believe, and it's just not the case. It's something completely different. And when we go over there and we dig up these tombs on South Mountain in Phoenix, it's going to rewrite history, man. And I think we need to open up at least one tomb. Those of you who are over there in ASU, college, those of you who are practicing archaeology, I got a dinger for you, man. I can show you where the tombs are. We need to go over there and dig up at least one tomb. Okay? Not all of them, because some of these legends and stories say that the Phoenix Lights is guarding some of these tombs, or not some, but all of them. The Phoenix Lights is guarding these tombs on South Mountain. Because the whole information on this is because eventually the Mayans are going to come back and reclaim the gold that's on South Mountain. So all these things in the sky, the feathered serpents, the flying diamonds, the Phoenix Lights, the flying orbs, all these crazy things are watching the gold on South Mountain. They're protecting the gold. Read about it on my website. Charles Holbrook talks about this. Why would the first park ranger, a credible man, talk about these crazy things up there, guarding these things, and his son writes in a book. His son wrote a book, talks about what Charles did, and his son writes on how Charles was taking care of the gold, protecting the gold, chasing gold seekers off of South Mountain who are digging up the gold. And that's another reason why they buried the stories, because they don't want people like me, people like you, going up there on South Mountain looking for the gold anymore. Because it'll, like I said, it's going to change history, for one. And there was a story too that there's a newspaper clipping on one of my past shows. I talk about how there was an old man up there looking for the gold, and he had to get air rescued from a helicopter, and he's up there looking for the gold that his dad promised him, that was buried up there on South Mountain in Padre Cave. You can go check out that past show. So and Holbrook, Charles Holbrook, wasn't just like an everyday Joe. This guy was, he was only 5 foot nothing, and packed some pretty big 6-shooters on his side, But he was a small man, but he was a big man in the park ranger field, I guess what you could say. Because I found information on him, not only in the Phoenix archives, but also in California archives. There's a library there that I found information on, and Utah, New Mexico. Buried. All his information was buried in all these time capsules or whatever, all these, libraries and folders of his work, of his information. So he just wasn't some everyday Joe Blow. He was a respected guy in this field. And for him to come out there and start saying, look, the Mayans were here, the gold tombs are here, the 4 crosses are here from the Spanish conquistadors. The Spanish conquistadors were here. All this stuff, then it was true. For a whole year, I'm out there on the mountain. And I'm finding all this stuff, right? Because I've dealt with the archaeologists. I've been on the news with the archaeologists, and that didn't get anywhere. You can go see that interview on my YouTube channel. Some of my past shows, and he's just blowing smoke up people's butts. I talk about that in my last show. And so I don't know. I lost my thought. What you even have is but Charles Holbrook, after he passed away. Oh yeah, the Spanish conquistadors. The archaeologist doesn't even know, doesn't want to admit that the Spanish were here, but Charles Holbrook knew that they were here. And the city of Phoenix, there's a carving out there, and from the Spanish conquistadors, and the city of Phoenix was going to go in there and remove that rock. They were going to remove that petroglyph and stick it on some street corner or something. And Charles Holbrook pulled his guns out on the construction crew. I was like, you guys ain't touching that rock, son. You guys ain't moving that boulder, man. And it took many, days and arguing with the city of Phoenix, but eventually Charles Holbrook won. And to this day, there are bars that are erected around that petroglyph so no one can touch them, so nobody can ever move them. From the first Spanish conquistadors. We're going to talk about them here on the show also a little bit on their petroglyphs. I found a petroglyph that we're going to talk about. So yeah, there's been a I guess yesterday there was some kind of weather balloon that flew over Phoenix, Arizona or something. It made the news. Let's take a look at this real quick since I'm talking about it. A friend of mine sent this to me, and it just amazes me on how like weather balloons can make the news, but Spanish gold, or Mayan gold on South Mountain, on the tombs of South Mountain, is being overlooked. Let's take a look at this thing. You can tell that it's a weather balloon from just the way that it's shaped. Let's pause this for a minute. So let's pause it. There you go. You see that? Yeah, that's clearly a weather balloon, folks. So let's try to you know, let's get this in our brains here, so we understand what you know, weather balloons look like. You see that? That's good video, and I appreciate it. You sending this to me. But yeah, how weather balloons can make the news when there's so much more out there when it comes to UFOs and stuff like that, and the history of Phoenix, and all this stuff has been covered up and buried. And the history talks about something completely different. It doesn't talk about nuts and bolts crafts. It doesn't talk about, you know, little gray men from Mars. It talks about something completely different. And it doesn't talk about weather balloons. So, jeez. I just wanted to throw that out there real quick. That, yeah, that was a weather balloon that flew over Phoenix, and it also kind of went over, I think, to Wickenburg. I'm not too sure where else, but yeah, it was flying around. I got another UFO video, a credible UFO video to show you guys today. And these UFOs are like coming out. These creatures are like coming out of another creature, dude. It's totally crazy. You guys see that. That's coming up too. All right, let's get things in order. Let's get going. Okay, so I have another channel. It's called Haunted Encounter Adventures. Check me out on YouTube. Check me out on my Facebook page. Make sure that you request to join my Facebook page, Haunted Encounter Adventures. We just wrapped up a video on haunted cabin in the woods. Ooh, yeah, that's pretty cool. You guys like paranormal things and stuff like that? Check out my channel, Haunted Encounter Adventures. I do paranormal. Not only am I a sky watcher and UFO researcher, archaeologist, blah blah, but I'm also a ghost hunter now. And on my YouTube channel, Haunted Encounter Adventures, there's a lot of videos there that you guys can check out. And yeah, so my latest one was Haunted Cabin in the Woods. That was a pretty good one. That was a pretty good one. Okay, what next? The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, people. Landscape for the Spirits. Yes, my book is available. The book is ready to go. Go out and get yourself a copy right there. You know, there's so many UFO books out there with hearsay, you know, and with no photographs. But yeah, this is 15 years of research, people. You see all these, there's some pottery shards there up on South Mountain that I photographed. You can see all the petroglyphs there on South Mountain. Talks about the light and shadows, things like that. Talks about the history of Phoenix, Arizona. Talks about Charles Holbert. It explains on what the Phoenix Lights is. Colored photographs, people. The Phoenix Lights, Landscape for the Spirits, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix. Go out there and get your copy today. Like I said before, I told the publishers to give the money to the foster kids in Phoenix. I don't, you know, it's not about the money. I don't need the money. I got my own money. Why would, you know? It's about getting this information to you. Right there on the cover is the 1997 Phoenix Lights, right? The Phoenix Lights were seen by the Hohokam Indians over 1,000 years ago, people. Nothing new. These Phoenix Lights, these UFOs in the skies, is nothing new to Phoenix, Arizona. It's part of Arizona's history. And I explain all this in this magical, wonderful time warp journey. It takes the reader on a journey, on an adventure through history, through time. It talks about the petroglyphs, how to understand the petroglyphs. It talks about how the Indians were here on South Mountain. It talks about the giants that were here in Phoenix, Arizona. Yes, I said giants. There's evidence of giants. Check out some of my past shows. Talks about the tombs. You know, there's a tomb on my website that you can check out right now that Charles Holbrook was guarding. It even gives the coordinates on where it's at. So anybody who wants to go out there and get ballsy and start digging it up, I'm all for it. Go for it. Do it. Let me know what you find. Don't get caught. I think like I said before, I really think the ASU students out there in that college needs to be a project for them to do. Check it out. Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits. True stories, myths, legends, and UFOs over Phoenix. Pick up your copy on eBay right now. Pick up your copy on ebooks, stuff like that. For Real Watchers Radio Show. What's up, guys? Like to talk about these guys. These are great guys. Get a hold of them for any topic you guys want to talk about, whether it's ghosts, whether it's UFOs. Contact these guys, Jerry and Brett. Great guys. Tell them Jeff Woolwine sent you. Get on the radio show. Talk about UFOs. Talk about ghosts. Have a great time. They're great people, man. Thank you guys so much for promoting the channel. And thank you guys for sharing this channel and subscribing to the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky down below YouTube page. Make sure you find that, the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. It's all one word, not just Petroglyphs in the Sky. That is not me. That is a hoaxer. That is a wannabe. He's stealing my stuff. Petroglyphs in the Sky YouTube, that is not me. Make sure it says the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. That's where to find me. All right. Vulture City Paracon Part 2 coming at you live out there in Vulture City. Lots of great speakers. I'm going to be one of them. This time we're going to be doing the first ever UFO hunt. Coming out here. Get your tickets fast. October 8th, 9th, and 10th. I believe I'm doing the Skywatch on the 10th. I think I should be on the 8th. I'll be there on the 8th too. But I think I'm doing the Skywatch on the 10th. Get your tickets early because they're going to go fast. Come on out here. Let's do a ghost hunt. Check it out with Jane Marie Yates. Great people. Get a hold of them for your tickets. Contact the Vulture City. Get your tickets there also. Come on out. Let's do a meet and greet. Bring your books. I'll be doing autographs out there. Talking about UFOs. Come on out. Let's talk about petroglyphs. Let's talk about history. Let's talk about the Phoenix Lights. Going to be a great event. Vulture City Paracon Part 2. I was there on the first one. It was great. So this one is going to be even better. It just keeps getting better every year. Great speakers, great vendors. You're going to have a wonderful time. Come on out. Vulture City Mines Paracon Part 2. And let's have a great time, you guys. All right. Let's get into it. Let's talk about these petroglyphs on South Mountain. Now, here's one. Here's one here. Look at that coyote. See that coyote there? He's looking up at these UFOs in the sky. Is he looking at crafts, ladies and gentlemen? No, he's looking at orbs. There's an orb right above his head there, a little orb. It's not a spaceship. It's not a craft. Not technology. This is a prehistoric photograph of what occurred on the mountains of Phoenix, Arizona, especially South Mountain. Looking up at orbs. The coyotes would tell you. The coyotes would tell you, oh yeah, I mean, we see them all the time. It's nothing new. Roof. Because it is. It's nothing new. It's nothing new to history. These Phoenix lights, these UFOs in the sky, it's part of history. They're not from another planet. I'm gonna give you a little secret here. This is their planet also. Did I say that? They're not from another world. This is their world. It's not extraterrestrial. It's interterrestrial, yo. These things are from here. So much evidence to suggest this. Here we have a spiral over here to the upper left. Little curly Q. Orb and some other UFOs right there. This coyote is looking at. So when I was learning the petroglyphs, when Dave Morris was explaining to me the petroglyphs, he was like, so the lizard people, this right here, this petroglyph here would be considered a lizard person because he has the tail. You see that tail right there? And so they're trying to say that's a lizard person. So the story on that says that when the Holocaust first arrived here, they didn't know how to live here. And it wasn't a desert back then. It was a tropical-like landscape. There's so much evidence that there was so much water here in this dried-up desert now. So it wasn't a desert. It was a tropical-like landscape. Waterfalls on the mountains. Water everywhere. There was tons of water here. The weathering on the mountains proves that. And so when they first got here, they didn't know how to live. So these beings came up out of the sand world, came down from the sky, and they shape-shifted to look like everyone else. The story goes on to say they lost their tails to look like everyone else. That's the legend to that. And so some would say that little circle in the belly there, the little circle, that round object there, is him halfway in our world, halfway into the underworld. But watching these things over the years and filming them over South Mountain and seeing exactly what they do, I understand now that thing in the middle is the orb. That is the UFO that we are seeing in the skies today. And he's morphing. He's shape-shifting. The archaeologist likes to say he's anthropomorphing. He's changing shape into the likeness of what we would consider a human. These things shape-shift. They shape-shift into, animals like serpents, like snakes, flying snakes. They change shape. That's what the Indians say. And I've seen them. I've seen these things change shape, change colors. This is not something like technology to understand. This is the reason why there's so many people out there saying crafts and technology. It's because that's what they can relate to. They understand that type of science. But this is not science at all. Okay? This is another life form. This is another living creatures. Just as the oceanographers are finding new species of life below the oceans, this is a new species above the oceans that has always been here. This is a new animal, if you will, people. I mean, new in this perspective anyway, like I said before. They're not from another planet. They have always been here, probably been here way before man. This is their planet too. This is their home also. Native Americans will tell you, they go up on the mountains to talk to the spirits. They're talking to these creatures here, these Phoenix lights, these to us UFOs. And so he's shape-shifting. The orb is shape-shifting into a man. See that? And that tail isn't really a tail at all. You can look on my website, on my front page of my website. And that tail is actually used. It's actually a line that comes down from these orbs, from these lights, from these creatures. And it picks like animals up. It picks humans up. on my website there on the front page, you can see a line coming down, and he's taking a man up into the sky from that line. This is on Holbrook Trail in South Mountain. This is a leader. You can tell by his headdress. And a coyote, or not a coyote, excuse me, a billy goat looking up at a flying serpent. Now, remember I said in the beginning that, you know, you have to look at the petroglyphs, you know, and include the whole landscape. On this panel here, this is high. Okay, this is facing east on Holbrook Trail at like the end of Holbrook Trail, high up on the ridge. So you have to look up. That's the whole point. Okay, so you have to look up to see this glyph. Why? Because this flying serpent, you see I took a photograph? See the photograph? I just didn't take a photograph of the art, but I included the sky with him. Okay, because the artist is including the sky along with it. This is the reason why we have to look up to see some of these glyphs on these rocks, is because that's where the sighting took place at. That is the photograph. That is the UFO sighting up high on the ridges. They didn't just climb and risk their lives for nothing just to stick a piece of art up there. No, that's there for a reason. It's telling you, look, you have to look up to see this, because he looked up, the artist looked up, and he saw this flying snake in the sky. And it just so happened to be a leader with the headdress. You don't want to say chief, because chief is a white man's name. Don't ever call an Indian chief. Don't ever do that. You call him a leader. Okay, so he's got a headdress on, so we know he's a leader or a shaman, right? And he's got his friend, the billy goat, with him, right? So him and his billy goat saw this flying snake in the sky. So probably he called his braves up there, because I'm sure he didn't do it. He called his, because this is high. It was this shot here, the photograph I took. It's not that easy to get to. All right, so he called his warriors probably up there to carve that sighting of the spirit, of the sacred spirit that he saw in the sky. This is a prehistoric UFO sighting, people. Is that a spaceship? No, it's like a worm. It's a snake. It's Quetzalcoatl. It's the feathered serpent. And I can tell you, people, I don't know how many times I've got to say this, Quetzalcoatl is alive and doing well. I've seen him many times in the skies above Phoenix. Look at my videos. One of my flying serpents made the news in Phoenix, Arizona. The flying serpent. First time ever in the history of the United States up to our date anyway, of someone recording a flying snake in the sky. Not only that, but matching the rock art to the mountains to the rock art on the mountains. Petroglyphs in the sky. That's what it's all about. Not spaceships. And then here we have all these petroglyphs are on South Mountain. Here we have spirals. And what are these spirals? Anyone? 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 Economics. Something economics. Voodoo economics. No. No. Watching Ferris Bueller too much. Bueller. No, man, they're doors. Look at that. They're doors. These spirals are symbols of doorways into the stone. So, let's look at the one on the left-hand side. That is going clockwise. That is a doorway in. It is ending on the bottom. It's ending on the bottom of the carving there. So, it's saying that probably this crack here, you see the boulder and the crack under the boulder? That's probably the doorway to the underworld. Now, there's one over here on the right. He's going counterclockwise. And it looks like there's something coming out of it. See a little peck mark right there above it? So that's going counterclockwise, and it's ending up top, meaning there's a vortex in the sky. So the Native Americans say that they're going down into the underworld. right? And I've seen these things. Because at first I'm like, dude, how's that possible? But once you see it and realize, what you're dealing with here, it's true. I've seen it. I've videotaped these things. They come down out of the sky, and then they absorb themselves into the stone. I've seen it. I filmed it. They absorb themselves into the rock. The Native Americans say they're going down into the underworld. On a scientific analysis, can I say that? They're going down into the fault lines. They're going down into that energy source. South Mountain, that's why these things are hanging around this South Mountain so much since the beginning of time, at least when the mountain was created, by a fault line, by a volcano. That's the whole reason why these lights, these UFOs, these creatures are drawn to these Phoenix Mountains, especially South Mountain, is because of that energy source that it harnesses. They're going down into that fault line to absorb the energy. You can find out more information about that in my past shows, also in my book. So we all know what the Freemasons look like, right? Their little symbol. Now this is interesting too. Look at this. This is out here on South Mountain. Exact same type of G. Little crown above it. And you can see on how it goes, like this wall. See how the wall, it goes more into. This is a tomb. This is one of the tombs on South Mountain. And it just so happens that there is a Freemason G carved right there on that tomb. And there's a king right there. Look at that. They put a crown on that G. Why would this be on South Mountain, right? That one tomb that you can find on my website, it's in my book. It has Roman numerals carved in front of it. When I was doing a lecture a couple years ago, we stopped for a break, and one of the audience members came up and they asked me, they said, do you know that hill right over here in this area? And I said, yes. He goes, did you know that there's Roman numerals on that hill also? And I was like, no. But it makes sense. Someone came in and documented and wrote a map and documented where all these tombs are located at. I don't think it was the government, because I think it was somebody before the government. You can clearly see the Roman numerals. And like I said, there's more than one tomb on South. I found at least 4 of them. So, and I'm sure there's a lot more up there. But I verified 4 of them. And Charles Holbrook writings verified that there's tombs up there. The first park ranger, why would he say that? Why would he document that? Why would he put that in his journals? Why would he tell everybody that? If it wasn't true, why would he be chasing people off the mountain, digging for the gold if it wasn't true? Yes, it is true. There are tombs on South Mountain, folks. And it's full of gold. Maybe something else. Find out more in some of my past shows. I talk about that. But here we have a Freemason G on one of the tombs. Is that interesting or what? What's up with that? But there it is. You can see on how it goes back further. And then there's another slab of stone on top of that, and it's just all buried. It's buried under that. And you can see the regular petroglyphs to the left of that G. Now that's Holcomb. But this one here, I mean, that is not. That is something completely different. Not Holcomb at all. This one is on this petroglyph is located on South Mountain, on Holbrook Trail. And look at the guy right there, the bow tie guy, with his arms raised. See that? And his legs are crooked, so everything is for a reason. All right, it's not just some random drawings, okay? And he's a bow tie. He's a bow tie because he is a UFO spirit. He is a creature. He is not a man. He is a spirit. He is a UFO. He is a like a barbell UFO. There's tons of barbell UFOs carvings on the mountains of Phoenix, Arizona. I have filmed many, many, many barbells in Phoenix, Arizona, and I've seen these bow tie entities also in the sky. Now look, he's morphing. He's morphing into what looks like a man. Now those bent knees, his legs, that's not just bent knees. That's a sign of energy. When you see his legs bent like that, it's a sign of energy. Not that he has bent knees. It's an energy symbol. Over here we have a spiral. And look at that. Look at that. Is that a lizard man coming out of that spiral doorway? And is that an orb in his belly? Is it actually an orb that is coming out of this doorway? Is coming out from the underworld? Is this a UFO orb? And is he morphing into what looks like a man? That is a photograph of what was seen in Phoenix. We have the swastikas. And, I'm sorry, but these swastikas, these were a Native American symbol way before anything else. Also India. India uses the swastikas. But where did they get this idea from? From the sky. These swastikas are these UFO creatures. That is where this symbol originally came from. It came from the sky. Because these swastikas are these creatures. It's two serpents connected together. We have another lizard type man to the left. Has an orb in his belly also. And he's coming out. He's coming out of the stone. See this here? That's the doorway. There's more petroglyphs here. See this there? See that? That is another energy symbol. And this slab has actually fallen over the years. It was up on top. And the slab has actually fallen down. Then we have another guy over here with a cane. And look at his knees. See that? Energy. Energy, people. We have these crazy looking birds and stuff like that. And then we have this zigzag pattern up there. And all these UFOs, all these creatures is around this zigzag pattern. Not only is it a symbol for energy, but it's also a synergy for the mountains in the background. Those pyramid hills is where these entities are coming and going from. You can see a guy right there. The coyote is up there looking up. This is one of my favorite panels. This is on Hobart Trail also. I talk about this panel a lot. So here on the left side, you can see a four-armed stick creature guy, a four-armed stick figure man, at the bottom of your screen there. And he's shooting up at a flying humanoid, a flying serpent, half man, half snake. Look at that. You can actually see the dots coming out of that staff weapon, shooting up at this flying serpent. We have another guy over here with a bow and arrow. He's shooting at something high in the sky also. Unfortunately, this petroglyph was taken out. We have all these other serpents. All these serpents in the sky. See that? We have an orb there. These coyotes on a line. We have a guy over here holding a spiral doorway. Then we have another guy pointing the way to the left. This brings me to a couple stories here. So we can see a type of war that has taken place here. Now look at this. Look at this. Look at this guy here for 1 minute. Let's talk about this dude right here. Look at the guy with the bow and arrow. In my last show, I talked about a petroglyph with a man petroglyph, a guy, and he has an elongated head, much like the skulls that we see in Peru. Now, if you look closely, this is as big as I can get it. If you look closely at the guy with the bow and arrow, you can see he's got like an abnormal head. Is that an elongated skull? Because the guy next to him, you can tell that's a regular human. He's got a regular head. His head is round. But the guy with the bow and arrow, his head is a little different. So this brings me to a story. So we all know about the Vietnamese in India. Okay, the Vietnamese say, or the Indian legends say that there was a war between the good Vietnamese and the bad Vietnamese, these UFOs, right? And it was the trophy was humans. Humans was their trophy. So the bad ones were going to enslave us again, and the good ones were going to let us free. Obviously, the good ones won because we're not still slaves to these beings in the sky anymore. But again, that's a different story. So it says that these Vietnamese, now the reason why I bring up the Vietnamese is because you know the legends, you see the photographs of these creatures, right? These creatures, these devil-looking creatures, and they have all these arms and legs. If you look real closely to this stick figure guy, he's got 4 arms. Okay? So the Vietnamese say, or the India legend says, that these Vietnamese, these creatures, they had these magical staff weapons. And they were able to shoot at these creatures in the sky. Isn't that interesting? And obviously, the good ones won. And the story goes on to say that they buried their magical weapons in certain places around the earth because they know eventually they're going to have to return someday and reuse them. So here, completely on the other side of the planet, we have a story of a being with 4 arms and a staff weapon of sorts, shooting at a flying humanoid snake in the sky. You see the pattern I'm developing here? You see the coincidence here? Isn't this interesting? The Indians say, the India people say that the Vietnamese, they have different arms. They have many legs, many arms. Now they have these staff weapons. So what if some of these tombs on South Mountain hold some of these magical staff weapons to shoot at the Phoenix Lights? What's the chances on that, huh? Now that's not the only guy that I saw here like that on South Mountain. There's another one. There's another one on the east side of South Mountain that I discovered, that I found, and he's actually shooting at a dinosaur. East side of the valley is Mesa. Okay. So, and remember, they carved these carvings in the general area or in the spots where the event took place at. So here on the east side, facing east, is a carving of a 4-stick figured man and another Indian standing behind him, much like what you see in this panel here. And he's shooting at a dinosaur. Now, about 20 years ago, give or take, they were constructing a new apartment complex in Mesa, Arizona, right off of South Mountain, just about a few miles on the east side of South Mountain. They're making a new apartment complex. They had to stop construction and bring in the archaeologists because they found dinosaur bones. Is that crazy or what? Here we have a petroglyph facing that direction of this creature, this other being, type of race of being, shooting at a dinosaur. And now the archaeologists are digging up dinosaurs in the exact same area, aligned with that area with the petroglyph. Another story here on this panel also, as you can see, is like, you know, it seems like they're doing battle here. There's another guy over here in between the serpents. You see the guy with the bow and arrow in the midst of the serpents? So the archaeologist wants us to believe that the Hohokam people were just a simple peace-loving people who never went to war with anybody, who lived here 1,000 years, who were masters of the canal system for their day, and they simply walked away. They left this area, they left this valley because of drought. Now, if that's the case, we will be able to find them where they went. But yet, they didn't take anything with them. They left all their belongings here and simply vanished without a trace on where they went to. There's no evidence of them migrating somewhere else. The petroglyphs and the oral traditions from the Native Americans here, from the old Indian shamans that I've talked to, say that their ancestors didn't walk away from their land. They were taken away from their land by these creatures in the sky. Some say that the devil came from the east and took these people away. There was a war. There was a war going on, and you can see the guys with the bow and arrows, and they're shooting at things in the sky, and there's a guy right there in the middle of your screen in the midst of the flying serpents, and he's trying to shoot at these serpents. When this was going on, the story says, Holberg writes this because he learned it from the Indians. They say that they saw what was going on, and some hid in caves. They saw the battle going on between the flying snakes, the phoenix lights, and the flying orbs. They saw the battle taking place. And their people being taken away up into the sky by these creatures, by the phoenix lights. And they were afraid. And when it was all over with, they knew that it was wrong to live in this valley. They vowed never to return to this valley. They cursed this land, saying, whoever lives here is going to have to go back to war with these spirits of the earth and sky. They cursed this land. They cursed this valley, now known as Phoenix, Arizona. The first Native Americans who survived this type of Holocaust cursed this land and vowed never to come back to this land because they knew that the spirits of the earth and sky, a.k.a. UFOs, a.k.a. Phoenix Lights, a.k.a. Quetzalcoatl and the flying diamonds and the orbs and all these crazy things, they were going to have to go back to war with these creatures. So they bury their gold in these tombs. And Charles Holberg writes about the gold. He just says that this gold was as tall as the highest saguaro cactus and was as round as the sun. We're talking about a shitload of gold here, people. A lot of gold that's buried on the mountains of Phoenix, Arizona. They buried that gold and they vowed never to come back into this land, because if they did, they knew that they would have to go back to war with these spirits of the earth and sky. And now we have a panel, we have a petroglyph panel kind of depicting this war. Find out more in my book about that. Here we go again. Here's another orb. Here's the UFO right there. And he's shape-shifting. He's anthropomorphing, the archaeologist likes to say. He's shape-shifting. He's changing. He's an orb. He's a UFO. He's not a craft. He's a living being. This is high up on South Mountain in this type of land, it's like an open valley field, I guess you would say, and it's like a table. It's like a rock, a boulder table, and this is carved on. And you can actually see the barbell up to your right of your screen, and the guy, he's either hanging on to that barbell, or he's being taken away by that barbell. And the orbs, look at the orbs around him. See the circles? Could be the Phoenix Lights. Could be the orbs that we see in the skies today. But clearly he's being taken up by that barbell UFO. He's either hanging on to the thing for dear life, willingly, or the UFO came down, the creature came down and picked this guy up, and now he's carrying him off into the sky. This is South Mountain. This is Phoenix, Arizona. We're talking about our history here. You're not going to find this from the archaeologist. The archaeologist is not going to talk about this. You're going to only find this information here, folks. Now that you have all this information, what I'm talking about, pick up my book, contact me. I'll tell you where the tombs are. Go out there and investigate it for yourself. That's what the whole idea to the show is. That's what the whole idea of the Petroglyphs in the Sky is. I'm bringing this information, this credible data to you. Data. This information to you. I'm bringing this information to you. Now it's up to you. You need to go out there and check out all this stuff for yourself. And if you can't, then I'm bringing all this information to you with my shows, with my UFO sightings, with all the things that I've done on the internet, you know, the radio shows, the cable shows, the history channels, all these things, you know. I bring this information down from the mountain to you. Okay, so we're talking about the Spanish conquistadors, right? So here's a carving of a king. Look at that. This is not Hohokam. Look at that. This is not Hohokam. This is a carving of a king. And you can even look at his breastplate. He's got a breastplate right there. And he is carved in between two pyramid hills on South Mountain. So we have a pyramid to the left, we have a pyramid to the right. And he is carved right in the middle, looking between the pyramids. So there's a boulder in front of the pyramid on the left, and the boulder explains that there's a tomb inside that pyramid on the left-hand pyramid. A man-made hill of a pyramid. There's two of them there, and there's one that's showing that there is something within that tomb. Now, when you look at these petroglyphs, to understand the story and to understand where to go next is by the direction the petroglyphs are facing. For instance, if you look at a panel and a coyote is looking to the right, you want to go that way. Go that way as far as you can, because he's telling you where the next story is. He's telling you where the next sacred spot is. He's telling you where the next petroglyph panel is located at. So you want to look in the directions of where these petroglyphs are talking or are faced, because that's the direction on either where to look or where the event took place at. Things like that. It's not by chance that they're looking in certain directions. It's there for a reason. It's there for us to understand. When you look that way, when the petroglyph is facing that way, there's something that way. Now, in this right here, this Spanish conquistador, he is looking in between the two pyramids. I found the tomb inside that pyramid. I found the entrance to that tomb on the right of the pyramid, the right pyramid. And there's something in the middle of that pyramid. There's like a big waterfall. There's a big waterfall in between the two pyramids. But this king is looking at the waterfall. So there's another tomb buried in there somewhere. It's all covered up with grass and debris and brush and stuff. And I tried my hardest to see if I can find any entrances. But I'm sure, I know it's there somewhere. Because that's where the king is facing. Is the king facing the pyramid? No. Is the king facing the other pyramid? No. Is he facing away from in the other direction? No. He's facing in that direction. So that's telling me that there's a king buried there. Or maybe something very significant that the king, the Spanish conquistador king, wants us to know about, or, is looking at. I believe I have another photograph of it. Here's a day photograph of it. That night photograph is pretty good. Here's what it looks like during the day. You can see his eyes, see the breastplate, you can see his ear, and you can see his crown. So I'm going to tell you a story that's in my book. So while I'm hiking out here on South Mountain, I used to hike with a friend of mine. And he was telling me that when his dad was younger, that his dad was playing hide and seek up here on the mountain. And he said that his dad ran into this wash, this dried up sandy wash, and he ran behind this tree to hide. And when he did, it was like this huge open chamber. It was like a cave, and this boulder was placed in front of it. But he was able to squeeze past. There was like an opening there, and he was able to squeeze past the opening. He says when he did, he looked down, and it was carved out steps going down into this chamber. Okay, and when he looked, there was a light coming from the top of this chamber down on the floor. And when he looked around on the room, because the sun was coming up from the top of the roof, of the top of the cave, of the chamber, the light was coming down, illuminating the opening, illuminating the cave, the chamber. And when he looked around, he saw chains on the walls with Spanish breastplates and helmets. This is on South Mountain. He said he got scared. He got the hell out of Dodge. He got out of there. He never went back to it. Well, he told his friend that. His friend told me. And for about a week and a half, we looked around in this area. We found the sandy trap. We found the dried up wash, the sand. We found the tree. We found the cave that he was talking about. We found the big boulder that has been placed in this cave. And you can tell that this stuff was carved out because they left the debris. They took all the debris and they threw it out, probably at that time, because there was a river right there. There's like a little wash right there. And they had thrown all the debris into that wash. Well, it's dried up now, and we can see it. We can see that wash there now. We can see the big carving stones, boulders that were, chiseled out and thrown there. And this huge boulder placed in the entrance, and this little crack. Exactly how he was describing it. Now, Phoenix has these dust storms. They're called haboobs, all right? And so it kicks up all this dirt. So we're talking about at least 70 years, when his dad was a kid playing in Phoenix. So it had 70 years to not only, cover up, what has already been covered up, all this dirt. So now there's about 2 feet of dirt now, a floor that comes up to this opening to the cave to where that boulder is, and you can still see a little crevice, a little crack on where a young boy could actually squeeze through there. But now over the last 70 years, there's been dirt, from these haboobs and dust storms that has been pushed up in there. But on the top of the boulder, there is still an opening up there. And there's petroglyphs, not by the Indians, on the left side. There's some kind of markings on the left side of this entrance to this tomb. So I remember his dad saying, well, there was a light coming from the top of that chamber. So obviously there must be a hole up there, right? So I climbed up, and yes, it's like a type of pyramid, not a complete pyramid, but a heel of like a pyramid. And so I climbed up there, and lo and behold, I find two huge stone slabs oriented towards the east, on both sides of each other, and it's going way down. It goes way down. These stone slabs were put there, were buried there. They were picked up, placed there to orient the morning sunrise, to catch that morning sunrise. These slabs were stuck there, and in between these two slabs was the opening all the way down into the chamber. But now it's all covered up full of dirt. All I saw was just dirt. It must have been about 6 or 7 feet down, and the rest was dirt. So that kind of verified everything. That there's there's an opening there, and we found the entrance. That old tree is still there. The boulder is there. So I'm doing a tour, right? I'm doing a tour with this family, and this little boy is with us, and we happen to take a break there, and I'm telling him this story. We're at the site, we're at the tomb, and I'm like, hey, do me a favor. Here's like a little flashlight. Climb up on that boulder and let me know what you see, right? So he did. He climbed up on the boulder. He looked around over the boulder, shined that flashlight in there, and lo and behold, he's telling me, yeah. He goes, there's a hole back there, but it's covered up with the dirt. He goes, I can see the entrance to the hole. It goes back. There's more, there's more entrance. There's a cave back there, but it looks like it's all covered up in dirt. I'm like, oh my God, dude. I was like, what you just discovered? You did it. I was like, you're the first one to actually see that in like 70 years. You actually verified that there's a tomb there, because you're small, you're able to climb up on the boulder. You looked, you got the flashlight. Oh God. I was ecstatic. I'm like, dude, you did it. I was so proud of that kid. I was like, dude, right on. You climbed up on that boulder. You got that flight. You looked. Yeah, you verified that there's a hole, that this is really a tomb chamber. Oh, that was so cool. You can find that story. You can find the photographs in my book. The story is in this book with the photograph of that tomb. You can see it for yourself. You can see the petroglyphs that are carved next to it. You can see the tree. You can see the sand wash that I'm talking about. You can see the entrance to the tomb. You can see the boulder put in the tomb. You can see the structure from the lights coming up from the top. It's all there. It's all there. Okay. All right, so let's get into this Chinese wall. So I'm at the Phoenix Library, and I asked the lady. I went up on the 4th floor to the Arizona room, and I said, "Give me all your files on South Mountain." And when she did, that's when I discovered Charles Holbrook. I discovered all these old maps. This is one of them. This is one of the old maps. In my last show, we talk about the 4 crosses up here on your right hand of your screen. That hill of the 4 crosses. You see the 2 peaks there, right there in the middle of your screen. And we're going to talk about most of these sites as the year progresses in this show. We're going to talk about a lot of these sites. We're going to go there. I'll take you there. But now we're going to talk about this Chinese wall. You see that arrow there? It says Chinese wall. Now this was kind of hard to get up to. We had to take Sunset Pass, and we had to drive all the way up there. And it's past the It's past the antennas, the TV antennas that you see on South Mountain. It's just past that, but you have to drive all the way up there on the paved road, all the way up the mountain to get there. And once I got there and I saw it, most of it was already made natural by the stone and the rock. So there was like these boulders, not boulders, but the ridge looked like this wall. But the rest was man-made. The rest was stacked. I'll show you here. Or of what's left of it. Now vandals has came in and of course destroyed the Chinese wall. Did the Chinese make this wall? I doubt it. But this was some kind of wall at the time. And this is pretty big. It doesn't look very big, but it is. It's pretty huge. And you can see the rubble to the left of your screen. And it just kept going. The wall kept going. But this is all that's left of the Chinese wall, unfortunately. But this was all stacked up. You can see on how it was made. Look on the right of your screen there. You can see the bricks. And vandals has destroyed it. They have pushed it over. And I was so pissed. I was so pissed. That they destroyed the rock. Now some of it is natural, and then some of it was man-made. I think I have another photograph of it here. Here's another photograph. This is the only thing left of the Chinese wall on South Mountain. So, you know, I mean, it was probably a bunch of kids that went up there and knocked it all down, unfortunately. But it sucks, man. It totally sucks. And yeah, so, you know, that's all that's left of the Chinese wall on South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona. Woo, woo, we're moving around. Do you love moving around on your screen? That's it. That's the that's the remnants. That's what's left of the Chinese wall. That was located on South Mountain. It's sad too. I mean, because it was totally cool. It was all natural stone up into a point. It came like, so there was like a ridge and then another ridge coming out from that ridge. And it looked like a wall. And I mean, it does. It looks like, and then the rest of it was all blown up or whatever, or pushed down. Okay, let's take a look at this UFO. Now this is crazy. This is going to blow your mind. We can get things going. Here we go. This is crazy. This is real, folks. This is real footage of what these things can do. This is not hoax. This is not CGI. You probably have seen this footage before. It's quite old. But I wanted to bring it up in today's show because it's so significant. And it's so cool. And it's one of few sightings that I actually caught something like this on film. And I thought it was really cool. Real significant. Look at these things. You see how they're dancing around in the sky like that? Look at that. This is real stuff. I believe this was filmed in Mexico. This is incredible stuff. And no, this is not spaceships. This is not crafts. These things are alive. They're kind of playing up there. These things are real creatures, if you will. It's not a spaceship. These things are alive. Fantastic. Fantastic. Look at that. That is great stuff. And it's not, some kind of alien technology or anything like that. These things are real. They're alive. And I think, for so many years, it's been these cover-ups. Oh, it's flares. Oh, it's weather balloons. Well, now everyone's seeing these things. Even these Air Force pilots are coming out, and saying they saw something and they videotaped this, they videotaped that, and then now they're coming out and they're saying, well, UFOs are real and blah blah blah. Some news reports are saying, well, just because it's a UFO doesn't necessarily mean it's a spaceship from another world. Woo! Remember that, folks. Okay, so they're kind of letting you know that maybe this isn't a spaceship, because they know, at least the people who are in charge, know what these things are, who has been watching these things for well over a long way before we are. These black helicopters and these white Cessna airplanes, they're watching these things. They know what they are, and so they're slowly but surely telling you, well, maybe it's not crafts at all. Just because it's unexplained doesn't necessarily make it a spaceship. Okay, so is that kind of reading something that's not there, or is that reading between the lines? I don't know, but from what I've been talking about and discovered since 2005, I'm reading it as they're letting you know maybe it's not a craft at all. It's not a spaceship. It's something else. And yes, it is. It's a creature. It's not nuts and bolts. It's not a spaceship. It's not from Alpha Centauri. This is their planet also. But a lot of people, the only thing that they understand is technology. So I think that will be the next cover-up that we will see pretty soon. Is the government's going to come out and say, okay, flying saucers are real, UFOs are real, but they're not going to tell you, they're not going to go into detail on what they are. They're gonna make you believe that they're spaceships, instead of living entities, instead of living creatures. Because if they come out and tell you, look, these things have always been here, they're like a type of animal, they're higher than man, they can do more than man. And in Earth's history, mankind worshipped these things as gods because these things had powers, right? They're able to go down into fault lines. They can absorb into rocks. They can go into in and out of interdimensional, portholes. They're supernatural creatures, and they were the reason for mankind's disappearance in the past. Are they really going to come out and tell you that? If they do, they're going to say the Phoenix Lights, was the reason why the holocron disappeared, was because of the Phoenix Lights, and now we're seeing them again. We're seeing them in our skies now. So what does that say to our future? Because the past is saying that the Phoenix Lights is the reason for the holocron people disappearing, and now we're seeing them now. So what does that say to our future? Are we going to disappear? Like the people did in the beginning? That's it, folks. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you like and comment and share this program. Find me on the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky YouTube channel. Find me on Facebook, Jeff Woolwine, Petroglyphs in the Sky. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.